Recently, when I put together my Dacia Duster review, I remarked that I love cars which are easily recommended to my friends and family. And you guys seem to really resonate with that. And there's no brand which comes more highly recommended to friends and family from me than Volvo. They offer reliable and super safe, solid cars. But we haven't had a Volvo on this channel in ages, so I thought it was about time we caught up on what's changed. Hi guys, my name's Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. Behind me is the EC40. You may have known it as the Recharge. However, the brand have dropped the name Recharge and they've brought some updates for 2024 which makes it longer range and also higher in performance. And considering it was already pretty quick, there's a lot to get updated on. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So the brand has ditched the Recharge from both their EC40 and also their EX40. And for me, that makes a lot of sense. Recharge always sounded like a hybrid to me. And with the introduction of the EX30 and the EX90, they wanted to streamline all of their names and make them all sound very similar. It makes a lot of sense, but it can be slightly confusing. So let me just recap on what's changed. This name change is all part of a bigger rebranding effort, with the EX30 released last year and the arrival of the EX90. But the EC40 isn't just a name change, it's got some cool upgrades for 2024. First off, the twin motor gets a performance package that boosts power by 34 brake horsepower to 436 brake horsepower. It's all about software tweaks, with quicker acceleration responses and a special performance drive mode. You can add this package when you order, or if you're an existing owner that thinks they're missing out, you can actually upgrade through the Volvo app later on. Pricing's been simplified, with the EC40 and the EX40 now having the same price tag. The EX40 starts at $45,955 for the single motor core trim, while the EC40 kicks off at $52,555 for the single motor plus, up to £6,650 from the old C40 Recharge. I know, that's a lot of money. That's not lost on me, but at least the figures are compelling. The single motor version can also be had with an extended range option. This boosts its range from 331 to 346 miles. It's powered by a 75 kilowatt-hour battery and the rear motor with 252 brake horsepower and 420 newton-meters of torque. You can grab the single motor extended range plus from 54,305 or Ultra from 58,355. The twin motor models start at 57,805 and go all the way up to £61,855. There's also a new black edition for both models. It's all about that stealthy vibe with onyx black paint, sleek 20-inch black wheels and glossy black accents inside and out. Even the badges are black. I'm hoping to get my hands on the EX40 version soon, so stay tuned. And whilst the non-coupe version of this car, the EX40, is available in other powertrains, this is solely an electric car, and that makes sense because that coupe roofline makes it more aerodynamic, and that means you can maximise on your all-electric range. But in terms of styling, they're very similar. The electric vehicles get this blanked-off front grille, and you get those four-shaped hammer headlamps. You also get this lovely green sage colour, which personally is my favourite, especially at this time of year. But for 2024, they also introduced a desert sand colour as well, which I know might be a little bit controversial. If you go for the EC40, you also get a black roof on all versions of this car, giving it a slightly sleeker and sportier look to match with its body shape. Personally to me, the sloping sporty roofline of the EC40 is much better matched with this car's performance personality, and I'll talk a bit more about its performance credentials when I drive it. But in terms of styling around the back, you of course get that sloping roofline with the sloped rear window, which is finished in the darkened black, and then it finishes with a gloss black spoiler, which feels quite sporty. You also get a little cat ear spoiler at the top as well. However, with this being a coupe, it falls into a coupe trap, and that's no rear wiper, something which has become quite the discussion on Auto Social UK. I've never found it to be too much of an issue as long as you have a decent rear view camera. Yeah, remind me to talk about that in a moment. In terms of styling, I don't think Volvos are particularly exciting. I don't think they intend to be. They don't exactly turn heads, but it's the interior which I've always loved. I've always found them very classy and timeless without being boring. Now this particular spec is one of my favourites. So you've got the light grey fabric seats, and though they're fabric, they still feel super high quality. You've got the white piping around them as well, which I really love. But my favourite feature is this, the crystal gear selector. Of course, it's not actually crystal, but it's really lovely. It glows at night and you've got the little floating motif in it as well. Elsewhere in the cabin, it's much more subtle, and I really like this plastic, almost topology map. Now, in the daytime, across the doors and the dashboard, it looks a little bit boring, but at night it glows and it looks very, very cool. Elsewhere is very simple, broken up by the nice chrome details that you get on the air vents, you get on this steering wheel and elsewhere in the cabin. It just feels a little bit higher quality than having everything gloss black. Now let's talk about the infotainment system. This is the Google-based portrait system that we're used to seeing in Volvos, and it's very easy to use. You get Google Maps built in, and you also can use your Google Voice Assistant as well, which always works very well. But something which doesn't work particularly well for me is the rear view camera. You see, put it into reverse and you get this rear screen design which only takes up half of the screen. It's quite difficult to use, and no matter what, it's always dirty. I've literally just washed this car and already that's dirty, and that's a bit of a shame. And for me, I can't see anywhere that you can clean it. You may be able to, and if you can, I'm really sorry Volvo, but I haven't been able to find it. Now if you pop it back into drive, this will bring up a 360-degree view instead. Now I find this much easier to use, but it can be quite fiddly to go into rear and then to forward and then rear again. So it's not the best system. Now this may be because this isn't the highest spec model, and higher spec models get a slightly better screen, but personally to me, this lets the car down a tiny bit. Now the rest of the Google system, you'll find apps built in, for instance Spotify and Waze. It's very similar to the system that you'll find in new Renaults, but for me the Renaults feel just a little bit more modern, but either way it's easy to use. And at the bottom of this screen you always have some shortcuts to your climate control, although unfortunately all of your climate control is inside of this central touchscreen. So if you don't like that, you might be slightly disappointed. I would have loved some physical controls, but you know what? It actually works pretty well. So that's all of the infotainment covered. Let's talk about storage, something Volvo are very good at doing. You see you have a wireless charging pad in the front with plenty of storage, two decent sized cup holders, you've got storage inside of the armrest, and you also have this removable bin, which I think is really good. You also get massive door cards which are felt lined so items won't roll around in them, and you get a good sized glove box which isn't impeded by any of the fuse boxes like you may find in some French products. Overall, I think the interiors of Volvos are hard to beat. But what about the rear of the car? Has it been affected by the coupe roofline? Now, don't get me wrong, of course it's been affected slightly, but actually headroom is still okay. Even with the panoramic sunroof, I've got a couple of inches, so anyone who's just below 6 foot should be fine. Legroom is pretty good as well. This is set up to my driving position and I've got plenty of room for my legs, and I can pop my feet underneath as well, which definitely gives me an extra amount of space. The disappointing thing, however, is this central tunnel. It makes it really difficult for anyone with slightly longer legs to be able to get comfortable. You do have a pull-out armrest with a couple of cup holders. Now, looking at the back of these seats, it seems like you should also have through loading, but I can't find how you actually access that, which is a little bit strange. I'll update you if I manage to work out how you do it. In terms of other amenities, you've got ISOFIX fitments on both of these outer seats as well as the passenger seat. You've got nets on the backs of the front seats, and they're also plastic on the back, so they should wipe clean. You've got loads of storage in the doors, and they're also felt lined, so really practical like the front as well. But what I really love about Volvos is just down the sides of these seats you also get cup holders, which makes them really usable. You've got rear air ventilation and you've got heated seats, as well as 2 USB-C chargers which are just tucked behind this little charge port. If you've never driven a Volvo before, but I asked you to hazard a guess on how it would drive, and you based it on the brand's safety reputation, the fact that they feel and look solidly built, you'd already be halfway there on how it drives. Because it drives very reassuringly. Everything feels super solid. There's no knocks or rattles inside the cabin. The steering is heavy, and that gives you a real connection to the car, and it makes you feel like you're in control. You also sit up nice and high as well, and that gives you a really commanding view. Even in this coupe car, I've got a good view all the way around the car. And that's nice. It definitely feels like you have a confidence when you're driving the Volvo EC40. And one of the things that makes me laugh about the Volvo is they have such a reputation for safety. And it's not just a reputation, it's also based on statistics as well. These are extremely safe cars, and Volvo are working every single day to make them safer and make sure there's no major accidents inside of their cars. And with all these new safety regulations and all of these bings and bongs from the safety systems, you'd expect Volvos to be one of the worst. But surprisingly, they're not. Sure, they do have all the safety systems like lane assist, and they also have the traffic sign recognition, which bongs when you change speed and also when you go over the speed. But none of these are intrusive. They're actually really quite subtle. Subtle enough that you can leave them all on without them bothering you. And that's the kind of safety systems that I like. So it's safe, but the dual motor is also uncharacteristically fast, monstrously quick in a straight line, 0 to 62 in 4.7 seconds, but it actually feels quicker than that. It's neat, tidy and grips well at sensible speeds, although it could never hope to be a sports car. If you prefer a more comfortable ride without the jolt of your organs being pushed back, the rear-wheel drive single motor with its 235 brake horsepower is a great choice for daily driving. While you might miss out on the blistering speed of the twin, it's still impressive enough to breeze past slowpokes on the motorway. Plus the power delivery is smooth, keeping in line with Volvo's premium reputation. Opting for this coupe EC40 over the EX40 does hinder some of your boot space. For me, one of the very annoying things about this car is how you get into the boot. It gets this two-step design, so to me I would presume that the boot release is under there, but it's not. It's all the way down here, meaning it gets all the muck off of the roads. And that's also the issue with the rear view camera. You see the rear view camera's down here too, so it's getting all of that dirt kicking up. Inside of this boot you will find 404 litres, so it's about 50 litres less than if you go for the non-coupe version, which I don't think's too bad. What I've always loved about the boots of Volvos is they're very thoughtful in their design and very user-friendly. You see, you've got an adjustable boot floor, but it's adjustable in the way that you can pop it upwards, and then, as you can see, you've got areas where you can hang your luggage and your shopping so it doesn't move around in the boot. You've also got extra storage underneath there as well, but this isn't the only place that you can store your charging cables. It does also have some front storage. Since I last got to spend some quality time with an electric Volvo, I have tested loads and loads of new competitors to this car. But the Volvo EC40 and also the EX40 really hold their own when it comes to their part of the market. They still have really good range figures, decent charging figures, and also they still outperform a lot of their rivals. They feel solidly built, but for me, what's key is they're still working on developing every single day, making these cars safer and safer. And that for me is enough to recommend them to my friends and family and all you guys at home as well. But let me know, what do you think of the Volvo range? Perhaps they're just to my taste and you would prefer something over them. So let me know what those are down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, go ahead and give them a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then you know what to do. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, see you later.